need a motion to declare some equipment surplus. We have 2002 Centaur auto excavation tools. These tools have been replaced by our Homatro tools we got from our Firehouse Subs grant back in the fall of 2022. So I'm asking for them to be surplus so I can sell them.
What are they? What is it?
They're excavation tools, auto excavation tools.
Tools.
Tools, spreader,
Okay.
cutter, ram.
Okay.
I saw the new ones you got. Those are impressive.
Yeah, they're nice.
I'll make a motion that we declare the equipment surplus.
I'll second.
Okay, any other discussion?
No.
Thank you.
All in order? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? I don't know what I said.
You were just looking to see if we were listening, weren't you?
No. All right, Public Works. What are we doing here in Public Works?
Phil, if you want to talk about the GIS, if you would for me.
Wake up, Phil.
So, a couple months ago, actually in late February, early March, we got talking with Patrick about, the city has a sanitary sewer system, but they don't really know where it's at. I mean, they know where it's at, but they don't know where manholes are located and things like that. They have plans that they've accumulated over the years that are there's some at City Hall, some of the Public Works and things like that. We talked to them about a web GIS that we've developed for other communities, and then we came into the Public Works meeting a couple months ago and did a demonstration of what that web GIS system is for both Crosby and Aiken. I actually think Marcia was in attendance at that Public Works meeting. You might have been the only one that was here and kind of saw it up on the screen. But essentially what it allows is the city to archive information as well as have basically mouse click control of information that can be used for public works or for planning and zoning, or just talking with residents about things, creating a map to show areas that they may have an idea on. It is different than, when you hear GIS, the way GIS was evolved when I first started my career and coming up here was the city had a computer, someone on staff knew how to use it. They would input information, whether it was from old records or where septic systems were or variances that maybe the city did and things like that. The problem is city staff does a lot of things and that type of stuff gets unused. They get less familiar with what to do. They spend time putting it together. We develop a system that basically we host. The city has a credential. If they have an internet connection and the credential, they can get in. They can't change any of the data, but they can readily pull up information. We think it's going to allow the city efficiency in planning, in archiving information associated with parcels, archiving information associated with past public improvements, and help them also plan going forward. So we propose this for Pat to consider.
For us, and Parks can use it, and Pete can use it.
You could extend it to phone lines, gas lines, utilities.
We don't do that.
No,
We don't do the private. You can look into whether those private entities want to share maps, and we could probably include a map on there. But you can develop this how you want. Snowplow in Crosby, we have snowplow routes. They have the bike recreation economy. We have those routes in there. Back in the day, retroreflectivity on signs was a big thing. So people had a layer that was signs. To give you a good example how this works, if you've ever gone on the county's website and looked at your parcel, this is customized to the city of Cross Lake with your information for infrastructure, planning and zoning and stuff in there. We had a cost in here to develop this, and then the question was asked, well, how much does it cost a year? You have a annual license fee that's $875. That could go up, but that's paid to Esri. They are the kind of the engine for this whole thing. It's not paid to Bolton and Mink. We figure this costs annually about $27.50 for someone who's not a city client of ours. We don't charge our city clients. If you got rid of us and you wanted to have another consultant in here, our stuff is non-proprietary, so we would give you the files. That consultant could set it up and use it if they have those capabilities.
In a storm event or in a snowfall, we could actually go out and find where these manhole covers are, or different spots.
Well, yeah, you can, because I think Pat's also talking about getting the kind of the level of accuracy GPS units that we use. They're accurate with sub-foot accuracy.
Okay.
He could take that information and he could go around and get close. You know, he
Yeah.
might still need to
A lot
get them
closer
out
than
there.
you are when you're out there with a snow
Yeah.
shovel.
Yeah.
Yes.
The real handy aspect from Public Works, in my opinion, and the reason why we as a company invest in this with our clients is a lot of times cities have records that they haven't looked at for years of what improvements were done. He can be in his office or sitting at his computer, I can be sitting at mine, we can pull it up at the same time, we can look at stuff that in many communities is sitting in a Public Works corner getting damp and, you know, deteriorating, so.
What's your fee? Is it 10 grand for that?
We said 8 to 10 because we weren't sure how far the city wanted to do it. It's kind of à la carte. You can start to pick what layers you want to have on there. For instance, you would probably want to have a sanitary sewer system, but not a water system for obvious reasons. You'd probably want to develop the planning aspect of this. And, you know, if TJ has some park thoughts, you can get some, you know, you can include your walking trails and stuff in there. If you have GPS, you can go and collect those dots, give us the electronic formats, and we'll throw them in there.
Could you provide us a more itemized, you know, list of the cost, you know, associated with each?
Well, you would have to develop what you want,
Okay.
and we can provide. That's why we set a range of $8,000 to $10,000.
So what are you giving us for that? Sewer?
Well, we kind of talked about the sewer is what you have, and then you're going to develop probably a planning aspect of it. We can get a further detail if you can give us an idea what exactly you want.
It's more of what it.
Right.
We want the sewer, planning, zoning, what they need. I was even thinking we could do it for the cemetery, have it out there, so that'd be another layer. You open it up and you can see who's where, and, you know, you have it documented, because like when you have a cremation, you can document where everyone is placed in that deal. Because right now, it's guess by golly, you should go from this way to this way, but
Yeah.
it'll all be documented that way. It's a super thing that carries on for years when none of us are here anymore.
Well,
They
so
still have the
that's
information there to find
One
it.
of the values too is you all sit here and you understand what's going on today, and some of you know what's happened for years, and then administrations change, Public Works change, you know, staff changes. This information's tied to a parcel, so you just click a parcel, you can pull it up. So.
But just help me understand what the 8 to 10 is.
So the 8 to 10 is we have to collect some information, like the utilities for sanitary sewer is one we've targeted.
Okay.
If you had storm sewer, we'd probably collect the storm sewer in any area that you had it, that you own, operate, and maintain. We would get files, old records that you have for plans and drawings. We'd scan those and put those into this system. They would build the platform, you know, and they use the county's aerial. They use some of the county's tax data, parcel information data. They marry that all together. And then whatever, you know, you're going to be asking in terms of if you want to have a planning and zoning, a zoning layer, you might want to also have files
But isn't that going
attached.
to be another $2,500 to add that layer or something?
Well, I think that you're going to be, at some point, you're going to come up to the point where when you pull this all together, we're going to be like, well, okay, now we're getting to the point of you're in that 8 to 10 range. What do you really want to do?
Okay, so
for
we're
that
going
8
to
to
get
10?
something, and then we can get more. as
Then we'll
time
add
goes
on to it.
Right.
Right.
I just want to, something.
Right. That's why I said an
sewer.
8 to 10 range, because I don't know how far you want to go with it.
Right.
You go less, it's closer to less.
Okay.
Basically, you're putting all the information you want around the city, everything in one spot.
Even
that's
fire
fine, but
department
kids still
stuff.
can
Fire
do that
stuff,
for
your
8 to 10.
short-term rental stuff, I mean, it's all there in one spot.
Okay.
It all depends on the layers that you want to do.
Yep. And it's
Okay.
Just like
additive over the years.
ArcGIS
You could do
and
an 8
Esri, I
to
mean,
10,
it's-
you could do an 8 to 10 start, and maybe in a year or two, you decide there's some value with the short-term rentals and all that stuff, and you could add that.
Okay. At the city I'm from, we had Bolton and Mink do this for us, and we had our municipal gas system on there, our municipal electric distribution system on there. We had our storm sewer on there. We had our sanitary sewer on there. We had the catch basins. We had we did not have cable TV because the city didn't own cable TV, but everything else, street lighting, catch basins, and you could pull it up. It's really slick.
The only reason I balk at the small utilities is that's Xcel Energy, that's Crowing Power, Minnesota Power, that's not us. And they probably
The
don't
reason
want to
I
get us
ask
left
is if these guys are out digging something up in the road, can they figure
No,
out
they
where the
cannot.
gas
It's
is?
against
Still
the law
gotta
for
do
them.
go for
You have to
locate.
do a locate before you can dig. You can't go off of it. You can't even go off your own stuff. You got to do locate if you're digging.
Yep.
But
There's an
it's a sweet
efficiency value, in
system.
my opinion.
And you can pull up those maps for city council and say, this is where we're working or whatever. You probably don't have that much here because you don't have the
Right,
utilities
you
that
don't, you're not
we had.
you're
We
not
had-
an old community with a lot of missing information, which, that's Crosby in a nutshell.
Yeah.
So,
I make a motion that we accept the web GIS platform at a range of $8,000 to $10,000.
I second them.
Any other questions, discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
We'll work with staff to come up with a list.
Right. Yeah,
We're good.
well, I mean, I thought.
Whatever Pat needs.
I was gonna say.
For
Pat should
8 to
probably-
10,000,
Oh,
whatever
yeah, to put
Pat
that
can
limit
get,
on there.
let it rip.
Yeah, we're starting with sewer and then we'll expand
I'd like
it
to have
out
the
on
short-term
crucial-
rentals too.
You don't have very much sewer.
Next, cemetery. Your proposal for cemetery.
How long did it take to sell 1,500?
You thought you were getting off easy.
No idea.
I didn't think I had anything with cemetery. I thought the question was to all you about DD
Your
rooms.
proposal for cemetery.
It's still coming.
Yeah, because you're gonna plot it out and everything.
Okay. This is the same proposal as last month, that the question was, do we need to do it or not? I can't answer that. That's,
What was the
Tara, I want
total?
to thank you for putting the numbers down.
Yeah,
That
thank
made
you.
sense to me.
It's one less than that because I sold a plot today.
So what's the range?
Congratulations.
When did you start with 2,000 and, when did you start with 2,000? When did you start with 2,000? What's the range, the date range?
I'm
I have
gonna
no
need to buy
idea.
a spot.
1945?
I wasn't here in 1945.
Well, I'm just saying. Give me a date.
Oh, I see.
Tom, when was the cemetery established? 1929? So we've sold 1,584? In that many years? Okay.
so if you think there's need to do some planning for the cemetery, we would plat that, or we have two proposals. One is for the surveyors to lay out all of the survey plots.
Physically lay it out in the field?
That's part of it.
Dig up grandma.
I don't think we have to do that.
It was the motion by the Public Works Commission to move forward.
With the whole
You all
thing?
said last time that you didn't know that, and now you do.
But are we going to actually go out and mark the graves and put the markers in and have it ready to start selling them? Is that what you want to do? Preliminary and final plat, it doesn't say mowing in here, but that'll restate the Mylar grade. It looks like it's ready to go, what you got here still, huh?
Yeah, so your deliverables will include the concept plan, the preliminary plat, and the Mylar plat, prints of the final plat. So you're all laid out. It's laid out.
Roads laid out?
Well, that's
No.
the other one. We would do the roads lay them out as well in there.
But that's not part of the first one. That's an
Well,
additional.
the surveying is one of them. To take the land, break it into the cemetery, work through the hoops of getting it as a final plat, signed and recorded, and then the surveying is or the engineering, the road access in there is the second one. I think those are both on there.
I don't see the second
Do
one.
do you physically survey? Or do you
We
take an
physically
area
survey.
and divide it up by GIS or whatever?
No, you survey it.
Physically
Survey it.
survey it.
GIS is not accurate
Okay.
to survey level.
Just checking.
Yeah. If you own land on Whitefish, I think you fight for every foot.
So how much will it go up if we put it in the budget for next year? Because I was told that we had 15,000 in there. Is there 15,000 in there? I don't see it in the sign balance. I don't know.
I don't think it would go up much, if at all. I think Ted asked us for a proposal 2 or 3 years ago, and I don't think we're slightly higher.
I think we should put it in the budget and do it next year.
Yeah.
Do you want a contract for next year
What's that?
in this amount? You want a contract for next year in this amount? We'll do it.
Tell me what's going to happen the next 7 months. I think it's going to be, it's the same amount of work. I don't see wages going up crazy amount. So I think it's a safe budget number
Did
if you
we
decide
have
to
the
wait.
money to do it this year? We have the money to do it this year.
It's not in the budget. Where is it?
It's in the unassigned fund balance. It just got carried over. We had capital outlay money in there that we never spent from prior years. It's sitting in the undesignated, unreserved, unassigned, whatever you want to call it.
So it's not unassigned
It's
at
not a
cemetery,
specific
so I wouldn't know
item
that.
identified in fund balance, but you do have the money to pay for it.
I'm gonna need a spot there. Let's go.
It up, it might be sooner than later.
That's what I'm saying. Let's get going. I'm gonna need a spot there.
If we have the funds that's sitting there, why are we waiting for another year to do it? I guess I'm struggling with that. Why don't we get it done while we can?
I make a motion that we plot the cemetery.
I second it.
It's a motion to get it done.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to ask.
The what?
Road engineering, you mean?
So-
We don't need a road yet.
Right, so
I didn't
to lay
catch
out
it.
the cemetery, we're
Hearing aids.
proposing
Yeah.
$11,600 to lay out and do all the process for laying out the cemetery.
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect, right there.
Okay.
Does that include the roads laid out, ready to put?
They're on paper, okay? So then there was the question about, well, access. You're gonna be putting in roads along there, you're gonna have somebody build them. You wanna have them laid out in the right spot, built to what you want them to be built, and then have contractors bid on the same apples, right? Knowing what they're doing. So then there's also an engineering proposal for $5,450 to basically do all that.
Well, let's hold off on that one. Let's just do the cemetery.
You're going to plot it so we have room for roads, aren't you?
Right.
The money for
You'll have a
whole
space
thing,
for the
correct?
roads.
Then we gotta mow the
People could
grass.
drive on grass, that's fine.
Tom, what did the Public Works Commission
I
say?
don't care.
What did they recommend?
Let's just see it done.
Surveying and laying out the roads, the engineering.
You want to do the whole thing?
Do the whole thing.
That is my
Yeah, that's-
motion.
That's your motion, Aaron?
Yes.
Is there a second?
I
Second.
seconded, yeah. right.
We have a
I
motion
say it
and a
was my
second.
motion. It was my,
And was
All in
yours to
favor?
do the whole thing?
Aye.
aye, yes.
Okay.
Motion carries, all in favor. True Green. What kind of weeds are they gonna kill?
Everything.
Would you
Is that a
guys,
per application,
Right, so we're starting with blocks.
or per year, or what is it?
Blocks.
would
Install the
Don't-
locks and keys.
Don't,
Locks and keys, yes.
locks and keys, great.
Mike.
Yeah, I brought up the Public Works computerize all the doors and locks at the waste treatment plant. It was a little over $17,000. So you swipe a card and get in, so we know who comes and goes and everything. And their proposal was that we should just get them all keyed the same. So I got a bid from Lakes Area Lock and Door for just shy of $12,000 to put new locks on all the doors at the waste treatment plant.
Are they key locks?
They're gonna be push button ones with the key. But if I go, if I order them ourselves and install them ourselves, and I put 4 cameras in, I can do it for around $2,000 for everything.
I make a motion that you buy those locks and cameras and install them for $2,000.
Okay, that's a motion.
I second the motion.
You got time to do that?
Yeah, we'll get it done.
I say, wait, whoa, what?
But Pat, that still doesn't give you what you wanted, to know who is coming and going.
No,
I
but
don't
the
think-
cameras we can see with
The
the cameras at
cameras,
least.
gotcha.
That's why I
Okay.
threw the cameras in
Then I'm
there.
good,
Perfect.
I'm good.
Okay, a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Where the hell? I don't see
Motion carries, all in favor. What are you looking at?
the key thing, but we're past it, so whatever.
All right, the next one is, the right-of-way up in Manhattan Beach between 12886 and 12880 Manhattan Boulevard. They have their joint driveways are on the city right-of-way. And of course, they got it sloped towards the center of both driveways, and it's eroding out towards the lake. I'd like to vacate that property. They can separate it out. We get away from worrying about erosion or anything, because we didn't cause the problem.
What number are you on, Pat?
It's right here.
G3C.
Right here.
3C, okay.
So they made that motion, will not be liable for drainage.
And then, yeah, it just basically cures all the problems. There is some legal work that has to be done. Two neighbors don't always see eye to eye there. So,
Is that vacation go all the way to the lake?
no. No, it stops, 20, 30 feet before the lake?
Do we have to advertise that as a vacation to see if anybody objects?
We would need to hold a public hearing.
Yeah, I would think so.
We can be the petitioner, but it's still the same process.
Right. I put that process in your packet.
Okay, but so do we make a motion to approve it now, or do
Well,
we wait till?
the
public
commission
hearing?
wanted to know whether the city would be liable for the drainage issues that are currently there if we went ahead and vacated it.
The answer in general is just, tried to make this point many times over the years, but people always want to talk about the benefits of ownership and not the burdens. There are many burdens of ownership, and we seem to ignore that every time we have vacation meetings. So just to make that point again, this is an example of why you don't want to own alleys that we don't use or have any need for. So is there liability potential? Yes. We're already there. Does it improve your liability potential if you vacate it? Yes. But it doesn't maybe change, we can't ignore the fact that we own it now. But it improves the situation. But in general, when we have 67 lake accesses and we don't know where they're at, and we know there's private improvements on 10 of 20 of them, there's dead trees, there's all kinds of liability potential there that we don't want to look at. So this is an example of one that, if you don't have a public purpose for it, get rid of them. Not just this one, about 25 other ones.
The history on this is that the neighbor on the uphill side did landscaping, and it drains down on the lower one. They've been fighting over this since I was here, and I've been retired 10 years. And so when we made a motion to recommend to vacate it, it was contingent on a legal opinion that the city would not get drawn into, they're each gonna get 10 feet of it or whatever it is, and it's up to them to sort it out. But where the commission was coming from is, okay, once we vacate it, now the fight's only between them and the city's out of it, but are we gonna get pulled back into it because we knew there was a
I tried to answer that, but
drainage
I'll
issue?
answer it better maybe, or at least I must not have answered it as well as I should have. We clearly have liability exposure now because we know of a problem and we haven't dealt with it. Doesn't mean it's our fault, it's just when you own land, you are in the liability chain, period. If we vacate it, we no longer have ownership, so that improves our situation, to answer your question. Does that mean I can control whether a neighbor wants to sue us and include us in things because they're pissed and they want to sue anybody they can? You can't avoid that fact, but they for sure can sue you now, because you own it. I mean, you're clearly in the liability chain today. You have a better situation later, but I still can't guarantee what people that don't like each other are going to do in the future.
Well, that was the commission's concern, that
And you can't get them to
we
sign
wanted to
anything
know
if they
what the
accept
city's
this. they're gonna-
liability was.
Okay, Dave asked a good question. Can you, as a condition to the, when you get to the actual hearing date, say, we'll vacate it and let it turn into private ownership, we want both of you to sign a waiver, or we're going to table it? If they both sign it, that works. I don't know if they would sign it, but that's a good idea.
Well, I'm in favor of getting rid of it and getting rid of them. I mean,
I agree with you.
but I think we have to go through the public hearing process first.
You still need the public, like we talked with many, 20 other ones we've had over the years, just because the council thinks it's a good idea, you still need a public hearing because 3 neighbors might say there's some reason that they like it or want to keep it that we haven't thought of. You don't need to listen to that, or yeah, you do. You don't need to make that your final decision, but you need to give neighbors an opportunity to say how they think needs to be public still.
So who does the
Oh.
survey and all the legwork to bring it to a public hearing?
Well, if, normally a petitioner, we pay that fee and we demand a survey and so on. If we want to do it and not, we can ask them to do it and say we'd support that petition and just see what happens. Because they
don't
would
have
gain
to.
land, but if they don't want to
Then we'd
pay the
have to
fee, then we're stuck doing it.
Why
I'll
don't we
make a
ask Brad
motion
to
that
see
we-
where it stands and move forward in that direction?
I think we should, I will make a motion that we hold a public hearing on vacating that street and see what the outcome is.
Okay, well, I'll second that. Then the conversation part of it is who is gonna do the paperwork and bring it to a public hearing? That's my question.
Who's done it? in
Send
the
them a
past?
notice.
Well, the petitioner, which is the people who own it, but they don't wanna do it.
We don't have to do a whole
In
lot of
in this
paperwork.
case, if the
The
council,
road's the
if you
road.
vote, 3 of you vote yes, you're authorizing staff to be the petitioner. We'll go through the process, and to the extent any other petitioner needs a survey or other things to submit the petition, we have to follow our own ordinance and follow the rules. But we're the petitioner, not, I forgot his name already, but the one that was here earlier tonight. In that case, he was the petitioner, Webster.
Yeah.
Same exact process,
Okay,
just
but so
petitioner
part of this
city.
motion is to authorize you to put the paperwork
The
together.
staff and I would then do it, yeah.
Okay.
So we got a motion and a second on that.
The surveying of that.
For ordinance, which it does, requires a survey, then we need a survey if nobody else pays for it. Yes, that's part of the process.
Does it need to go to Parks, the Parks Commission?
Yes, because it's like, it's our ordinance, and we had it exact same as any other one.
Follow it.
So it's got to go back to both commissions.
Yep.
You mean
Okay.
before,
Send it back.
before we can hold the public hearing?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, we can't make different rules because we're the applicant here. It's, unless you want to change the ordinance, you got to follow our own ordinance.
And I think,
well, it shouldn't have to,
Aye.
well, it shouldn't have to go back to Public Works because they're the ones that recommended this. It just has to go back to Park and Rec.
But people didn't have a chance to comment
They
at Public
weren't
Works.
noticed on it, Marcia. They're gonna have to notice them and then they can
The
come.
they
public works
got-
part isn't that hard. The biggest thing is paying for a survey, which you're stuck with doing that if you're going to do this thing. That's a question, though. I would use Bolton and Mink if nobody tells me otherwise. Is that what you're assuming?
I need ice cream.
Okay.
I guess, right? You guys, Bolton and Mink do it?
sure.
Do we need a vote?
Yeah. So we got a motion and a second on it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Are you gonna vote? Are you gonna vote?
I made the motion to start the whole thing.
You're on the road.
I think we're ready to get out of here.
Well, I don't understand why it goes to Park and Rec and then it goes to Public Works. Shouldn't we go to-
Yeah, you in a hurry?
and not
All right, next thing on my list was, We got some prices for spraying. Abra came in at $7,102 and some change. That was 2 applications. On True Green came in at $5,490, but they want to do 5 applications.
Does that include the 5?
No, you got to times that by 5, the
If we-
$5,490.
Okay,
We're
so
better off going with the Abra.
was
Why?
I missing something? Did we want to contract out spraying weeds?
I don't get why we
This
just
was a
don't,
recommendation from Public
Yeah,
Works.
from Public Works, because what was brought up was either we license one of our own employees and give them a little bump in pay, or we have to hire it done.
Don't we have an employee that's licensed for
No.
this already?
what is the licensure? What's the process for that?
You just go to a class, and then you get your
Do,
license.
what equipment would you need?
We have the equipment.
Perfect.
Problem is that to get licensed, then you're assuming the responsibility of doing it properly.
Wasn't that why you go to class? So you do it
But that's,
responsibly?
But, okay.
but that's why they're saying you deserve a little bump in pay. We're not
Okay.
saying thousands of dollars.
Wait a
but-
minute now.
I'd be willing to
Wait,
advertise.
wait,
or I'd be
wait,
willing
wait,
to-
Certain
wait,
about
wait,
the
wait.
chemicals.
Yeah, there you
You're
go.
ju-
Person at a time
You got
talk.
chemicals concern and the liability that goes with spraying it, that's why you're licensed.
So nobody would do it even if we paid them a little more because they're
No, we got a
uncomfortable?
couple employees. that
No, listen,
Gladly, one of them would do
you're not
it.
listening.
Listen, Linda.
Union contract says the job descriptions, it's weed control is in there.
If they're licensed.
Well, let's pay.
There's a big difference in weed control. If you're using something like Roundup, you can spray that all over public facilities. Unfortunately, you don't need a certificate for that. Now, if you talk about selective herbicides, where it targets broadleaf weeds, and you're spraying them on fields or on playgrounds where kids are playing, you need to know what's your mixing ratio. There's a certain wind cutoff where you cannot spray because then it disperses around the park or the cemetery. So weed control is kind of broad, but when you break it down into what you need to do to obtain a certificate and what you can spray, it's,
So do you think it'd be a good investment for us to get one of the employees?
we have all the equipment. If we want our facilities to be well-maintained, they're not taken over by clover, dandelions, that's something that the council has to consider. And we can certainly pay someone who obtains a certificate 25 cents an hour more or 50 cents an hour more to hold that certificate and spray for the city, citywide, and we don't have to pay a company $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $10,000 to do it
A year?
per year.
I mean, we're talking about year after
Every year. That's why I rather.
This is spraying ball fields, open park spaces,
You got one of
cemetery,
your guys
fire
that would
hall,
be
city
willing?
hall.
Between you got somebody who is willing to do it?
Yep.
And do they have the time?
That's my question. At what point, what are we giving up to do that?
Well, it's,
You're only looking at 2 apps per year. So it's a day per app. So it's 2 days.
yeah,
Maybe 3 apps depending on,
till we get it under control.
right.
and
So
roll
it
back.
takes them a day, but they need a bump in pay.
Well, to hold a certificate, I mean, it's,
Just a little bit.
and it's not to say that you're not spraying, spot spraying or
We had an employee with it, and he stopped spraying
Because he was uncomfortable.
because he was uncomfortable doing it, unless he got paid more. But
No, I don't think that was ever said.
that's been like 3 years now, I believe, yeah.
Well, I think it'd be a value to the city to have somebody in the know about weeds.
Well, if we're talking
I
about
agree.
expanding our thoroughfare with landscape and we want it to be looking good, I mean, it's either contracted out or it's get someone on board. who
Somebody
knows how to do it.
in-house.
How long would it take for this individual to be up and spraying?
In-house.
Get in a, book a class, couple months.
So we're gonna miss this season.
They have to do some studying and, I mean, they have to go through some homework before they can take the test.
I'm thinking, do we wanna do it this year and prep next year for having one of our guys do it?
I'll second that.
You know, cause
Are you too
then you
late
can
for
get
this
it
year?
done soon.
You would typically do another app in the fall. That's one app, so.
Do you have an idea of who wants it?
One of the parks employees kind of mentioned he would be interested in it.
So they get a respirator, I mean, we protect them, right?
Yeah, you'd have to have all,
Yeah.
PPE.
Okay, Jackson, make a motion. I want to get out of here.
I'll make a motion that we, how do we want to word this? That we want to send somebody to school to learn how to spray weeds.
and
But
then
in
you
the
want to put in.
meantime-
But in the meantime, we will pay the
True Green.
true,
Abra.
we will pay the Abra, or we will pay Abra to do some applications
Abra's the better deal.
of weed
I second
killing.
that entire motion.
Thank you.
Five.
Do I need to repeat that, or did you get it? In lump sum? Okay, good.
So just to clarify, for next year, we'll get somebody set up that can do it in-house.
Yes. True Green? Abra is 2 applications.
True Green's 5 applications, so.
True
it's 5
Green
grand
is
times
5 of them they require.
I thought I said,
Did you say True Green?
he told me to say Abra.
Abra is the one we want.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I said Abra, not True Green.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, next thing on my list was if you guys didn't notice, all the radar signs are up and running. And then, the other thing was that we had Town Square painted on Sunday for the re-grand opening. They redid their schedule so they could get that done for, Mr. Anderson. And then we had a request to put an arrow at the end of Miller Street to warn drivers to turn left, because a few of them have missed the corner there, and that is ordered, and as soon as it's in, we'll get it done. And then, like we talked a little earlier about Bonnie Lakes, we're gonna clear the right-of-way back with the mower, cut it back to get the visibility better, and then we're gonna try and get some pedestrian signs up there, try and warn people. We had 2 sirens that failed during the last test on the first Wednesday of the month. One was at the wharf and one on Acre Point. They have both been serviced and they're back up and running already.
Great.
I talked to you about that one. Me and TJ would like to possibly hold a special meeting about hiring a new employee that we would jointly share together. If you guys would be wanting to entertain that, because he can't get any part-time help. I don't need full-time help, but if we jointly share it, we can keep him busy. Yeah, and that was recommended by the Public Works Committee. But we'd like to have a meeting and just figure out where you guys want to go with it, if you're going to entertain it, or,
Do you what would you want him to do, or said person to do?
I think we should entertain that, but
because because like for mowing, it was a godsend last year. They had that one gentleman on the mower nonstop. Now we're pulling a couple of my guys out to mow. TG's got his guys out trying to mow, and we're not getting things done like we'd like.
Like we talked about 4 hours ago, roughly. I keep a log. I will be able to show you guys how much that seasonal weed whipped, mowed, and did park maintenance. That's kind of the piece we're missing, but also there's more that Patrick has that he could bring up that
Like
he
the
logged.
shouldering we talked about, and we can't get the shouldering done. We don't have enough employees right now.
Right.
With people being gone, and it takes at least 5 or 6 of us to do it, so from going from a month of shouldering, maybe we're gonna try and get a week of it done this year. We just don't have the time for it.
So do you pull Nate out of the wastewater plant?
Everyone will be out when we do the shouldering. We're even taking 2 of the guys from parks.
Does Nate come out to mow lawn?
He's mows lawns,
Okay, so he's not
he's
sitting
been
in
out
there.
doing a lot of stuff that he doesn't always get credit for.
Okay, because the wastewater plant has alarms if
Right,
something does
right,
go
but there's
wrong.
a certain amount that has to be done there every day for Nate, and
Yeah,
then we've been pulling
I
him
realize
out. and He was he was filling potholes last week and a bunch of other projects.
so do you need a motion that you can have a special meeting to sort this out, or? I know
Yeah,
exactly.
careful.
Yeah, that'd be the best way, I think, to pursue it, is have a meeting special meeting or however you guys want to do it so we can discuss it.
And it's a full-time position.
It'd
you're
be a
talking
full-time
about.
position.
I don't want to get shot.
Well, I move that you meet to determine what exactly you need and then bring back a proposal for us.
So is it the pay that you can't get a part-time seasonal?
Not really. I didn't even, the couple of rounds that I advertised, I didn't even include the hourly rate, just to get them to fill it out so we can have a discussion about what we do pay. There's just, I don't know if our last seasonal told everyone how many hours he's on the weed whip and mower, and they turn away and don't want to do that. I don't know. I've spent probably $300 in advertising. I put it on our social media websites. There's just no interest in doing it as a part-time gig.
Do you
Well-
think that'll change with full-time, TJ?
This-
I do. This
Maybe
would be a
should-
position where they could grow through the departments too. I mean, we're not talking about a high-level operator. This is going to be someone who mows, someone who weed whips, someone who picks weeds, someone who can go in a truck and help the guys plow behind the big rigs. I mean, it's somebody to help us keep up with what we're doing. And we're not really adding anything in the city. We're just trying to keep up.
So now you should be helped out by the weed control thing in the spring, so
Right,
you don't have to
that'll
do
help
that
out there.
anymore. Maybe we should contract out the mowing of the cemetery, but we don't know what that costs.
Does anyone want to
Us.
second my motion?
What was your motion?
What was your motion?
I will second your motion
Thank you.
because I actually did hear it.
Thank you, yes. That we propose that you meet and determine exactly what you need, then come back with the proposal that we can hopefully,
I think we all backed off when you said special meeting.
well, I don't blame you, but
Well, aren't you asking for an actual hearing, meeting date so you can take action? Isn't that what you're asking?
Could we do it before Chip's meeting or something?
I mean, to make it worthwhile, we can discuss the parks garage too at that time.
No.
Put it on. Put it on.
At this new meeting, not that one.
you're taking advantage of our weekend state right now.
I don't care.
Well, you can vote on it right now. You don't need an extra meeting, but I think they're saying they don't want to wait a month. So if you want to do it before a month from now, you got to pick a day.
I just don't know when. I mean, Chad just said that some of us are gone until the 5th or 6th or something of July. So,
6. Isn't that when we're,
We can't meet till the evening of the 7th, though, right?
no, the 6th.
Oh.
I thought we said evening.
I thought we decided the 6th.
It's the evening of the 6th.
so, I don't
Do
care.
do we all have to be in attendance at the special meeting? And can't they? You two-
We just need a quorum.
Yeah, you
Yep.
just,
But we could do it half hour before the 6th meeting that we did.
I mean, we could send it back to Public Works, and they can help you guys do a job description. You could take it to Park, and then bring it to the council
Let Public
in
Works have
July.
a special.
Yeah, we can do that. We'll just take them to both.
It's not going to get done any earlier.
Since you guys are aware of it, then we'll bring it to you guys, and then you can decide next council what you want to do.
Perfect.
okay, we have one more, right, don't we?
Really?
Bowler property.
Yeah, we got the Bowler property. So Jamie already did the improvements. I think we all agreed last time that we'd authorize that payment, so
I'll make a motion that we authorize the payment to Bowler
Second.
Landscaping.
I'll
Do you want to
second.
do, you want to do that contingent upon him signing an agreement that he's not going to ask for any other
Hold harmless?
hold harmless? We got that before him before, but then when we went back and told him that the city will take half, he refused to sign. So
yeah, just make them sign that before you give them the check.
that's what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Good, good.
Contingent on the hold harmless clause in the agreement.
Okay, motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. God.
I'll be quick if it's my turn.
Please be quick.
All right, South Bay Park update on Sunday, June 4th. We had Duluth Archaeological, what?
Oh, we have Park
Yeah. Sorry. Sunday, June 4th, we had Duluth Archaeological Survey. The South Bay Park, we're still waiting to hear back from them on any findings. Update soon to come. The right-of-way inventory update. Me and part of the commission spent June 1st, June 5th, June 6th, and June 8th to visit all 54 right-of-ways in the city of Cross Lake. I am working on compiling all the information, going to put it on a presentation for you all. Just stay tuned on that, but we're pretty pumped to get the boots in the ground and be able to physically see all of them. We've seen some encroachments, some improvements. That's all going to be in the report.
Fantastic, TJ, thank you.
Thank you. Public forum, nobody wants to come up, do they?
I have a question. Does anybody have a spare bedroom I can use tonight? I think Whitefish closed like 3 hours ago, so I need a place to stay.
I'm going to close the public forum. City Attorney, Brad, you got anything? Business?
I have old business. Lodging tax letters, did they go out? Why not?
I have not received any addresses.
Do you have his phone number that you could call him? I left a message on his recorder. Yes.
It's his responsibility.
It's our ordinance. It's our ordinance to enforce
He
it.
can send
It's not our
addresses.
ordinance to mail letters and notices.
No, but to enforce the ordinance
not.
lodging.
It's not in our ordinance to enforce
It
it.
says we can investigate and enforce, and that was the
Well, I
directive.
haven't received any addresses, so they have not been mailed.
Could you contact Walla and get the addresses and send out the letters?
If-
The-
Ooh,
the
I got the
second-
stare. Jerry, do you get that one ever?
The second thing that I have is the city sign. I would like to make a motion that we finally put lettering and lighting on the north side of that city sign down here in the corner. That's a motion.
I'll second that.
Give them a time limit. Yeah, Mike,
By the end of the month.
where is that on the list of things to do?
It's sitting there, just have to have the time to
Nope.
do it. It's a couple
Can you put
hours,
it
so,
on the priority?
yeah, it's on the priority list.
By the end of the month. My motion will read by the end of the month.
Second.
Well, I don't know where to get letters.
High-tech orders.
High tech, all right, all right.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, Jackson, you're up.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Aye.
Aye. Sorry it took so long